Hello guys and gals of the internet, I am The7chaos of YouTube, Twitch TV and Mixer.com as always. We are just over 5.5 hours away from a 5-year wait that'll finally be over. Welcome to the The7chaos Previews episode for Detroit Become Human, the PlayStation 4 exclusive by Quantic Dream. Obviously, if you don't know who Quantic Dream are, they are the kind of makers of Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy, depending on what kind of part of the world you live in. It was Fahrenheit in Europe and Indigo Prophecy in the US. So just by those titles and the name of the company alone, you can already tell that I am hugely excited for this game, because when it comes to Quantic Dream's work, you know, if you've been on the YouTube channel for probably since 2016 or 2015, you'll know that I have pretty much covered all Quantic Dream's games on my YouTube channel most recently. I would suggest you check them out or play the games for yourself before checking this game out, because there will be a lot of Quantic Dream features in this game that will probably be very familiar in other games. So I guess to get used to Quantic Dream's kind of features, check these out maybe in a little way, or watch the playthroughs, or even watch someone else play them if you're planning to pick up this game, and then you'll be able to get familiar with the kind of game and the way the game works and the choice aspect and the motion controls, everything that's kind of a Quantic Dream staple at this point. Obviously, if you pre-order this game, you'll actually get Heavy Rain for free with it, I think, or at least at a discount, which is pretty cool, because to me, Heavy Rain is probably Quantic Dream's most successful game for a variety of reasons. Fahrenheit was such a unique game when it came out back in 2005. When it came out in 2005, it was a totally new game where, you know, you pick certain choices and it changes the kind of dialogue depending on what you pick. It wasn't really a choice-based game as heavily influenced as Heavy Rain. Indigo Prophecy was really just kind of small scenarios depending on what you did, and then you got to the end of the game and it pretty much played out the same way with 3 different endings depending on what happened at the Washida base. But Heavy Rain, however, was probably the real game that really focused on your choices made throughout the game. The best example I can give is with 2 of the main characters in the game, Madison Paige and Norman Jayden. Now, one after the other, they have these specific scenes. With Madison Paige, she is in the doctor's house, the mad person, and you can actually lose Madison in that kind of segment. You can lose her as a character, she can die, she can get killed by the doctor, and then in the next stage, which you play as Jayden, for example, you could actually lose Jayden in that part as well. So you could kill Madison and Jayden in those 2 levels. And the whole Blue Lagoon section, if you're familiar with Heavy Rain, both those characters find out about the Blue Lagoon and head to that club. That complete section gets omitted from the game, and you continue on from after Ethan has the trial to shoot or not shoot the guy, and the game will continue from that part. Madison won't show up to comfort him and all that stuff. Everything in that whole section gets completely skipped over. I think Heavy Rain to this day is the one game where the choices you make and the decisions you make and the kind of thing, the way it works, really does affect the rest of the game. Now, it's towards the end. It's not, obviously, even choices earlier in the game, say Scott Shelby, there's actually a trophy for him to have the perfect kind of crime and get away with everything he'd done at the end. Spoilers. But basically he can get away with it, and there's a trophy for that, and you can make it, and literally no one knows that he did his crime, and no one knows that he's connected to the origami killings and all that. No one knows anything, and he gets off scot-free, pun intended, I guess. And yeah, and he has this ending where he basically, no one knows who the killer is, and he's able to walk on and do his own thing. No one really knows about him. So I think Heavy Rain is the biggest game to feature player choice that actually means a lot. Now, Beyond Two Souls, unfortunately, which was released after that, didn't really do that so well, I think. And I'm not sure why that's the case. You know, a lot of the times in Beyond Two Souls, you could fail numerous quick time events and the scene would really just play out anyway. Say, in the training montage, yes, there is a little bit of a difference in the way it works if you see it all kind of fail the challenges, but it really doesn't mean anything. You know, Jodie still becomes a top agent in the agency. So it really, a lot of stuff that you did in the game, even due to the QuickTime events, nothing really mattered in Beyond Two Souls. And I think that's the thing with Fahrenheit and Beyond Two Souls in particular, is they're not really expansive on the, you know, the different outcomes affect the story. They were more about the story at hand rather than any real big depth changes. And I think with Beyond Two Souls and Fahrenheit, they kind of had the advantage of being a very late or very early title in the console life cycle. Fahrenheit was 2005. I'm guessing that was the end of the PlayStation 2 cycle, probably a couple of years before, because I think the PlayStation 3 came out in 2007. Beyond Two Souls was out in 2013, which was, and pretty much a month before the PlayStation 3's kind of life cycle ended, and we moved on to the PlayStation 4. Now, in 2013 of E3, we actually had the first kind of tech demo from Quantic Dream showcasing the motion capture that they will be able to do for the future of their games on the PlayStation 4. So we waited 5 years for this, and it ended up in this product, Detroit Become Human. Now, the story is very kind of vague. You know, there's not really any big kind of, you know, big story to really talk about, obviously. But I think my theory for this is that it's going to feature very heavily on the relationship between humans and the androids. And the one thing that really pointed that out to me was the demo that was released about a month or two ago. You're playing as one of the main characters, Connor, who is a cop. He's the main negotiator at the cops. You know, if there is a hostage situation like the demo has, it is a hostage situation where one of the androids is gone and turned into a bit of a deviant, as it were, I think they're called, and he takes a hostage. And the cops send in Connor because he's a negotiator to try and rescue the girl from the situation. Alright, sorry about that. I was just trying to find where I was talking about. I kind of forgot for a second. But yeah, Connor is kind of the negotiator. And one thing you can do during the whole hostage scene is heal this cop that is on the left. If you look to the left, you'll see this injured cop. And the hostage taker has shot the cop in the arm. And what you can do with Connor is you can walk up to him and kind of injure him. Now, obviously, you'll be at risk because the hostage taker would probably shoot you. But despite that, you can go and heal him anyway and kind of be scared off by a bullet, but you'll be able to heal him. And one thing I noticed that popped up in that thing for a split second was public opinion. Now, public opinion, I reckon, and I think this was coming into one thing we saw this morning from a bit of gameplay from someone. I think it was PlayStation Access. But basically, there was this small pop-up for a second called public opinion, and I think that increased. So I think there's going to be a sort of relationship kind of thing that gets monitored throughout the game which changes based on what you do. So if you do this good thing with Connor, that will help the androids, and there's probably some tension between androids and humans in some cases. And if you heal this cop, that will change the public's perception slightly of androids, and that will probably help you later on in the game. Now, the one thing that I was talking about that we saw this morning was a small gameplay segment from probably about the first half hour, and you're playing as Kara, who's another one of the main characters in the game. She's a house person, basically. She's one of those people that goes around to houses and helps with cleaning and stuff like that. And she's assigned to this family of this guy and his daughter. And the one thing as this person was playing through, now obviously this is only like half an hour into the game, so we're not really being totally spoiled. But one thing I did notice was that when you kind of talk to Alice at one point, that's the girl's name, and Alice's kind of feelings towards Kara were changing as you were picking dialogue options. So if you picked a comforting dialogue option, Alice would warm up to Kara. So I think it's quite interesting how, you know, specific characters or public perception can change based on what you do as the characters. It seems like there's going to be a lot of different kind of ways the story can go depending on what you kind of do as other characters. I find that very interesting. The other thing I noticed with the demo was system instability. Now, I'm not entirely sure what that means. I don't know, because it was very vague. It was very unexplained what system instability was. I feel rather that it's going to be something like the psych meter in Indigo Prophecy. Do you remember the psych meter at the bottom left of the screen? If you did a certain action, your gauge would go up and down depending on what it was. So if Lucas kind of kills the guy at the start of the diner, his sight gauge dropped by 60, so he's about halfway on his gauge and he becomes depressed. And if you drink like loads of alcohol later in his apartment, you can literally deplete that gauge down to 0 and the game will be over, because he'll kill himself. Basically his sight goes demolished and he jumps off the building. I think that's what the ending scene was. So I think it's going to be probably something like that. It's going to be how the character you're playing as feels at any point. What I can work out from one thing is that apparently someone was saying, because some people have already started the game, like Rad Brad and Game Riot and Chris Smooth and those people, and some people, I haven't watched the videos because I don't want the game spoiled for myself, but some people have said something like, there's apparently this scene where you're interrogating this person and you have to be careful, because if the person you're interrogating gets too stressed, they'll self-destruct. And I was like, whoa, really? That would be insane. So does that mean, if that is an Android thing, does it mean the likes of Kara and Connor and the other guy Marcus, can they self-destruct if they get too stressed? It seems like you got to be very careful about what you do in this game, and I feel good about that. Now, obviously, there's going to be this fear of, it's a story-based game, so choice-based game. So, is anything we do really going to matter? Now, if it's going to be like anything like Heavy Rain, yes, because Heavy Rain, like I said, is probably the one game that really does that really well. Maybe Life is Strange does it until the ending appears, but it has far-reaching effects on what happens later in the game. Now, the third character, actually, while we're here, the third character is Marcus. I don't really know much about him, to be honest. He's kind of the unknown. What I have a theory here with Marcus is he's going to be the person that kind of rebels against the android purpose, as it were, because he'll probably see the androids as slaves and try to kind of, we're slaves and we're servants, and he'll probably get some androids behind him that will he'll cause a bit of a rebellion, so to speak. And I don't know whether that's going to affect Kara or Connor in any way, but I'm assuming that at some point in this game, main characters will meet other main characters. Say in Heavy Rain at the end, and Scott Shelby, Norman Jane, Master Page, Ethan, Mars, they all meet up at the end of the game in various scenarios. I reckon it's going to be very similar in Detroit. Maybe Connor, like Marcus is causing a ruckus and Connor goes out to investigate or whatever, or maybe on a whim somehow Connor bumps into Kara and she tells him his story, or if you've seen the PSX trailer for Detroit, you'll know that it's a very emotional trailer. Maybe, because I know there's a thing where Kara picks up Alice and runs, maybe she reports that to the cops and Connor goes out to deal with it. Maybe. I mean, this is all speculation. Like I said, I've seen really very little of the game. I've seen the trailers, obviously. I've seen maybe the first half hour. I've played the first half hour or so with the demo, but I've not really got anything beyond that. So this is all just pure speculation, but even on speculation, this looks really an interesting game. And I have a feeling that the big thing in this game is the whole flowchart function. At the end of a chapter, you'll get this flowchart, and you'll get all these different kind of scenarios and choices, and even like multiple endings to the chapter. And I have a feeling that first-time playthroughs are going to be an absolute brilliant experience for all involved. Obviously, we're going to play it probably alongside someone like Vash or Smooth, for example, and watch him as he makes different choices to our game. And it's going to be very interesting because Vash is doing it day one as myself and Lady Time Lord, so we'll be watching as we're playing the game, will be then watching his and see how his story comes out. It'd be interesting to see how different, even myself and Lady Time Lord, it'd be different to see how our stories are different. And it's always brilliant when we play a Telltale game. The Walking Dead: A New Frontier was in particular example that we played, and our stories were totally different. Mine had me at season 2 ending in the Wellington place. Lady Time Lord went with Kenny. And it was just so brilliant how story. Now, obviously, the main part of the story was the same, but it really did differ in how our scenarios were, and it was really good to experience that. And that's what I really love about these games in particular, is the different stories you can see. Now, obviously, for the bigger part of majority of it, it's really not going to be that different. It's always most of it's gonna play out the same, but it does seem like it's written to affect what happens. Maybe in certain cases you could lose a character, because don't forget there's 2 different difficulty picks. One says experienced, which I believe is more chance of losing a character, which is very interesting. And I think one of the parts in Kara's part, kind of the demo that Kara was in, was very, very telling and very emotional actually, and I was like, I'm not letting that happen. I won't spoil it. Go and watch that trailer, but be warned, it's a very emotional trailer, so just be warned about that. But I was like, that's not happening. I am doing what I would do here, and I think that's what I love about these games as well. Is it really puts you in the player's shoes. Like, the players come into your shoes and you get to play how you would want to play and what you would do in that scenario. And I just love that about these games. And I feel that we need more of these, because there's this kind of niggling thing in a lot of people's minds that single player experiences are dying. They're dying with the rise of esports and Fortnite and Battle Royale in particular. It's all in tournaments and things like that. For fighting games, it's becoming bigger, and companies are not making single player games anymore, because no one's doing it. I mean, Black Ops 4, prime example, no campaign, none. So is that a true fear? Is it a true fear that single player games are dying? Is everyone's in the esports and Fortnite and Battle Royale, and Black Ops 4 haven't even bothered with the story? To be fair to Black Ops 4, maybe, just a little bit off topic, just to be fair a little bit, maybe they couldn't really reach a story at that point, because it jumped between so many times and it became very disorientated, the story. So maybe that would be a reason why, because the Black Ops storyline was kind of disorientated with the time jumps and everything. So maybe they kind of shot themselves in the foot in the early games for that to happen. But it really is a genuine fear. I don't think it's going to come true. I think, the likes of Quantic Dream and Naughty Dog, those companies in particular, they do make stellar. Sucker Punch, maybe, I think, who made Infamous. Those kind of companies, they still make stellar single-player experiences, but they are getting rarer. Rockstar, even, with Red Dead Redemption, for example, those kind of companies are still doing stellar single-player games, but it's becoming less and less and less because of Fortnite and esports and the rise in multiplayer competition. And I guess, not to criticize anything that happens, I think that's just the way it is. But, Sucker Punch was Santa Monica with God of War, prime example of, a single-player experience that is stellar and magnificent. God of War has been getting raving reviews from players and reviewers alike, and it says, this is a revitalized state for single-player games. So I'm kind of hoping Detroit does that. It proves that single-player games are still kind of the thing that some people want, because not everyone wants to play Fortnite. Not everyone wants to play a game for multiplayer experiences. Not everyone wants to play COD. Not everyone wants to just do that. Everyone wants a good story. And yeah, I think this and God of War hopefully become the kind of catalyst for that, to make a point that single-player games are not dying yet. They can still be stellar experiences, and I think it's left in good hands with people like Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, Quantic Dream, those kind of developers, Sucker Punch even, those kind of developers that make single-player experiences and say, look, they're not dead yet, we can still do it. And I think it's a good it's a good sign. You know what I mean? It's a good sign. And obviously, Fortnite hugely popular, the Battle Royale mode hugely popular, but yeah, let's not kill off single player experiences just yet. And I have a feeling this is going to be that kind of game that is another kind of example of just how good single player experiences can be. And I just hope that's the case. I'm a huge multiplayer player sort of thing, but there are some games like Detroit and F1 where sports games, for instance, I don't play online on sports games. You know, I want my single player stuff on sports games. I don't play online because I'm bad at them. So I don't want single player kind of experiences to die out because I don't want to be restricted to playing just multiplayer on FIFA because I suck at multiplayer on FIFA, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was probably bound to happen with Fortnite's popularity in particular, but yeah, hopefully, you know, this kind of game and God of War can be kind of steps towards kind of keeping single player games going. Like I said, it's going to feature a lot of Quantic Dream staples, this game, the motion controls with the controller, the choice-based aspect. There's not really much difference between this and Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls. You know, it's going to be very similar to those, but the choices will carry probably the greatest weight. The one thing I fear, because someone made this comment, I think one of the early game players, people were watching those, and I think someone wrote a comment saying somewhere that, you know, choices really don't matter because you could lose Connor at the beginning of the game by jumping up the building and saving Emma, but you still get to play as him later. But the thing is, it's not game over, but it gets reset. So everything Connor knows up to that point, if you lose Connor, you lose that version of Connor, and you get a different one. When he goes later into the game. That could be really cool, actually. That could be really interesting if it is a totally different side to a character you built up for so long and then you lose him and then the game resets. It's like what Conflict Desert Storm used to do. You remember that game? It was a 4-player squad game, single player. It was about the war, the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. And if you lost, say, Bradley in one of the missions, he got replaced by a different character, and all the XP and stats you'd earned with Bradley, that was all lost, and the character was reset. That sounds very similar to that, in my opinion. So that could be quite interesting. Obviously, I'm obviously going to try my best to save everyone, because you know that would be probably towards the best ending. The one thing I hope, and I'm not really sure that this is the case, I hope it doesn't have so many endings like Heavy Rain, to the point where you can't skip the cutscenes, because I've played Heavy Rain a lot recently, trying to gather up all the trophies, and I had to sit through the credit sequence about 6 times to get all those, to get that trophy. So hopefully you can kind of skip the credits at the end of the game, and not have to be forced to watch it every so often. But yeah, it's going to be a Quantic Dream game. The morale system is interesting. The software instability is very interesting, and the relationship you can build with certain characters is very interesting. It's a relationship building game, with other choices affecting those relationships. It really seems like it's going to be expanding on Heavy Rain, because a lot of the Heavy Rain relationships happen anyway, no matter what you do. Maybe they've built on that, and now you have to get to know someone before you could jump into a relationship with a certain character. Like I said, with Alice, she's distant with Kara at first, but as you talk to her, she gets more confident with her, and she warms up to her, and she becomes such an important part of Alice's life, and she feels that way. So yeah, and Alice is instantly becoming someone I want to protect from that trailer. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with that segment of the game. I know what I want to do, and I'm going to push to do it without spoiling it too much, because I want to spoil the playthrough before it starts. And that's pretty much it, I think. There's not much to talk about. The story is obviously up in the air, so I've just had theories. But I think it's going to be another Heavy Rain. I don't want it to be another Beyond Two Souls, where, nothing you do really matters until the end of the game. I want some stuff to matter in this game. And Quantic Dream, they've got so many years of experience now. They've kind of pieced it all together. They've learned what's right and what they did right with Heavy Rain and what they didn't do really that right with Beyond Two Souls. Hopefully they've all learned from all these games that we've played with Fahrenheit, taking everything on board, and this is the final result. We've waited for this for 5 years. I just hope it's worth it. I don't really mind about the motion control and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of it. After playing Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, and the motions sometimes don't work, and in Fahrenheit PS4, the Simon Says was so broken to the point where the QT event, I don't really mind that. And I don't really mind if the gameplay really focuses on that. I just want, I just want a good experience. I want these 5 years wait to be worth it. This has a lot of expectation because it's been in development for so long. Was it ever coming out? The only thing we'd hear about Detroit every year was at E3. We'd hear nothing after that, apart from the PSX most recently with that trailer that I was telling you about. Yeah, it's been very quiet. It's only come out at certain points, and finally it's here after 5 years. I just want it to be worth the wait. That's all I want. I don't really mind if the gameplay's not that great or whatever, or the stories. I just want it to be worth it. Was it worth the wait? That's all I want. I'm not going to be highly critical of the gameplay, let's say, because I know the gameplay aspects are going to be Quantic Dream, and the story is going to be very emotionally driven, because what a Quantic Dream have done since Heavy Rain, and I'll point this out quickly, is that they focused on very, very, very sensitive matters, say with Beyond Two Souls and the whole scene with Jodie in the bar and all that stuff, and obviously from the trailer that we saw at PSX, I remember one girl that did a reaction video of it and was literally reduced to tears because of the scenario. It hit close to home basically, and I was like, holy shit. I think Quantic Dream basically with their games are telling you, and Life is Strange did the same thing with Kate. They're telling you that it's okay to feel like this, but you're not alone, and there is always this help you can get, and these people you can call, and they basically just tell you that you're not alone, and you can call someone, you can talk to someone about how you're feeling, and it's like, I love that kind of game, I love that kind of game because it helps people that have been in these scenarios know that they're not alone, and you can speak up, and you can get help, you can have some help, and it makes your life easier in the long run. You're never alone. That's basically what they say, and I love that. That's what I loved about Life is Strange and the whole Kate scenario. It raised awareness of these scenarios. You know what I mean? It raised awareness, and it tells people that they're not alone, and they can speak up and they can talk, and through a traumatic experience they can talk to someone. There's always someone to talk to, always someone at the end of the phone, or maybe a family member or something, and you're not alone in this. And I think that it sends those messages, and that's one thing I loved about Life is Strange in particular, is the way that it was a game, but it was also a story, but it was also a way of helping people, and that's why I loved it so much. And I feel that with this game as well, it's going to be very similar with that. And like I said, the whole thing with Alice, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to make sure I do it, even if it means I have to restart the game. No, I'm not, unless it's really, really not a great scenario, I won't restart the game. Unless it's something I need to do it, but hopefully I won't restart the game. Hopefully I'll do the right stuff, because Detroit Become Human is obviously one of those games that, better the first, it's always at its peak the first time you play it, I think, and the experience you should go through the first time you play it. This will be a first time playthrough on the first time I'm playing it. I won't be streaming it because I don't want people who already know about the game from Radbar and Chris Move to come in and spoil the story in my stream chat. That's no knock against people, I just want to avoid that whenever possible, so I'll just be playthroughing the game as I would normally. I will play through the game, and I will take whatever happens unless it's something I really don't want, like one of the scenarios can be with Alice that was totally heartbreaking. I was like, that's not happening. That's not happening with me, because if it does, I'm just not going to be able to cope. But obviously without spoiling too much, but I will do my utmost best to make this a first time playthrough from beginning to end without stopping. I will do my utmost best, but like I said, the thing with Alice is such a thing that I want to take care of her instantly, and it's like if I fail that, I'll give you an example of what I mean. If I had failed Kate Marsh on that roof, I honestly don't know if I would have continued the game after that, because it would have absolutely just destroyed me. I'm very emotionally attached to people easily, as you guys know. Ending of Life is Strange absolutely just tore me up. I've said this before. You know, I get very, very attached to people, even video game characters, very easily, and my emotions really come out. I'm a very open person, and I think if something goes drastically wrong with anything that I really care about, it's going to be very hard. But I will do my utmost best to make it a first-time playthrough from beginning to end, and I will innocently try not to screw up. Yeah, and even there is a danger of losing characters, but is it the main characters and they just get reset, or is it the people that you kind of interact with? It's very interesting, and I can't wait to play it. I can't wait. I've been so excited all day, man. I've been waiting 5 years for this. I love Quantic Dream. I love their work. I'm probably a little bit critical of the way the motions work, and maybe that David Cage really does kind of the same thing in every game, and some things in the story don't make sense, like maybe the relationship between Ethan and Madison makes no fucking sense as to how it happens, but you know, it's only little nitpicks, really. It's nothing highly critical to go on rage about, because it's not worth that. You know what I mean? It's fine. You can instantly stop it if you feel that. And obviously, I didn't want to stop it because I was getting the best ending of the game in my YouTube attempt, which I failed miserably. But yeah, it's obviously going to be a first-time playthrough. So unlike Heavy Rain, unlike Beyond Two Souls, unlike Fahrenheit, I'm going into this having no idea what to do, and I think that's the kind of draw to this game to me. This is a Quantic Dream game I know nothing about. So I think that's the biggest draw of it. You know what I mean? The biggest draw of this is a game from Quantic Dream that I have very little knowledge of. But I'm helping Alice out. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, I'm going to stop to repeat myself. And that's pretty much it. So 5 hours left until the longest wait of my life is finally over. I love Quantic Dream. I love their games. And I've been waiting this for 5 years. So please be good. Please be good. Alright, I'm going to be out of here, and I'll see you guys for the start of the playthrough. That'll be the next video you guys will see, most likely on day of release. It's going to be a first time playthrough away from streaming to avoid story spoilers. Please be aware that your comments won't be read until I've completed the game. When I complete the game, then I'll start reading your comments and you respond if you guys write any. Sadly, I've had no comments because my YouTube video channel isn't that huge. But you know, if it one day does blow up, be aware of story spoilers. If you have a story spoiler, I won't be reading it. You can write it down. I won't block you or anything. But just be aware that I won't read it until I complete the game. That's how my kind of stuff works. So that's why I'm not streaming it. I'll be streaming it afterwards and exploring the different options following that. So that's pretty much it. So without droning on for too much longer, I'm going to leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you for the start of the playthrough. Peace out, guys. Stay awesome. And yeah, it's almost up. It's almost over. Just 5 more hours to go. I'll see you then. Peace out. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you later.